Hey everyone, it's me, Steve, and I need to talk about something because there seems to be some sort of mental disconnect with some grown adults who should be able to understand this concept. If you take any three-dimensional object and you try to represent it, the surface of that three-dimensional object in its entirety on a two-dimensional surface, say a map, there is going to be some distortion. I am not going to explain this by using a sphere because apparently that's too complicated for some people. So I made this little dice, six-sided die, you can see. All six sides are represented here, and this will be actually easier to represent on a two-dimensional surface because it's basically six planes. Now, every object in this universe, physical object, has length, width, and height. A two-dimensional surface, a piece of paper, well, it's 3D, but I'm just saying on a flat plane, on a flat planar two-dimensional surface, you only have length and width. You have no height. So in order to represent 3 on 2, you need to do some distortion. Sorry, that was me getting paper. It wasn't my rear end. So I took some pictures of the cube. My color printer isn't the best. And I generated this to show you how there's distortion. Now, at first glance, you might look at this and say, oh, but Steve, there is no distortion. Actually, there is. In order for me to show this entire thing on this surface, number one, I had to show two different angles from two different points just to even get it. So I don't have a cube here. If I took these numbers off and got rid of these lines so you have a reference point, this is what it looks like, which is basically just a two-dimensional surface, a series of triangles. All right? So, even this simple cube, in order to represent it on 2 dimensions, I had to do some distortion even in that drawing. Plus, there's other distortions in this as well. Like if you look from the photo, and here you'll see that as the closer part to you looks a little thicker than the further part, I did not compensate for that. Does that negate this model? No, it does not. It still accurately represents my cube. But there is another way to do this, okay? To represent this on a two-dimensional surface. But in order to do that, I have to disassemble my six-sided dice, or my cube. And this thing is 2 inches by 2 inches by 2 inches, so it's 8 inches squared. Now, like I said before, there is a way to represent this showing all planes with equal lengths in 2 dimensions, and there it is. But does that look like a cube to you now? No, it doesn't, because it needed to be distorted. So, just real quick on this too, before I forget, I wanted to mention this. You can also tell there's distortion in this because even though you saw my cube was a 2 inch by 2 inch by 2 inch die, this sides are not equal. So even in this rendering, some distortion is needed, and you can even tell this number looks bigger than this and all that. So I don't know if I can explain that any simpler to anybody. All right, so I hope you can wrap your head around this. All right, and if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below.